So in this strange, eerie atmosphere, the atmosphere really of a practice match, it's Castilla who play from right to left in the first half. West Ham have changed into an all-white strip. And an early feel of the ball for Phil Parks. All the tightness of the security and all the pre-match build-up behind them now for West Ham. Their task to pull back this deficit 3-1 from the first leg, and so pleased to see Trevor Brooking here in the side, having passed the fitness test, and Ray Stewart blasting in the first shot, which took a deflection. And the goalkeeper for Castilla is Miguel. Such a young side, the average age 21, Castilla. The Real Madrid nursery club, who play in the Spanish second division, but who can get no higher than that. Used as a conveyor belt of young talent for the major club. Frank Lampard looking for Paul Goddard. Pike beaten to it by the number 6, Sanchez Lorenzo. Certainly the West Ham camp privately admitting that had this game been played in front of a crowd, that they felt the young Spanish side would be at a disadvantage. But the West Ham club also confirming that they had no choice with UEFA about this decision to play the match behind closed doors. It was the result of the appeal being heard, and this was the finding. Goddard beaten to it. Bernal, the number 10 on the far side with the white armband, the captain for Castilla. And here's West Ham's captain, Billy Bonds, leaving it for Devonshire, and room for Goddard if he can turn. Castilla getting plenty of men behind the ball, and I'm sure we shall see them operating in a man-for-man system. Alvin Martin showing his strength. Number 2, Chendo, back to the sweeper, Salguero. Playing it long towards Balin. Frank Lampard is with him. Balin, who was a scorer in the first leg. And the first corner of the game, as Balin makes his way into the middle, is for Castilla. Sidon, who caused so many problems in Madrid with the corner, but wasting the opportunity. And the Dutch officials tonight, referee Jan Keizer. Phil Parks, who had European experience with Queen's Park Rangers in the UEFA Cup. But no experience like this, I'm sure. Many of the players before the game comparing this sort of build-up problem to that of having to play in the reserves, where the adrenaline doesn't flow. Free kick to West Ham. Bonds waiting for Martin to get forward. Join cross to strike force in the air, and it comes towards Alvin Martin. Well by Paco, who dropped back to mark him. The throw goes to Castilla. And Casemiro will take it. Every comment passed from player to player can be heard. cut out by Devonshire. Eight is Alvarez. Paco showing a nice touch on the ground. A bit of good fortune as the ball broke for him as well. Martin being allowed to run. Bernal. Here's Ray Stewart though for West Ham. Pike making a run through the middle, and that's the sweeper, Salguero. Stewart again. This time it's Bernal. Castilla funneling back. And Goddard making a good run across the face of the penalty area, and Devonshire coming in on it. But now Balin. At least West Ham have that one advantage of an away goal. So 2-0 would be good enough for them tonight. But of course, they must be careful not to lose their concentration in pushing forward in this search for goals. Here's Balin. And problems here for West Ham if they let him go all the way, and Parks had to make the save on the near post. Balin beavering in from the right, and in fact left with little option but to try and test Phil Parks, because Castilla were a little slow in getting men in support into the middle. But an early warning with only 6 minutes gone for West Ham United. So Sidon with a deep corner coming towards Paco, beaten well by Alvin Martin. The cry was from Pike for Goddard to hold it, but he was always running out of room. Chendo just stabbing it inside, where Casemiro finds Salguero. Balin, the number 7, looking for an opening again. Devonshire beaten in the air by Bernal. And Goddard beaten to it by Alvarez. Two number 8s on the far side. And here's Jeff Pike. Bonds free to come forward from the back, Brooking ahead of him, but this is Holland. Trying to get behind Casemiro, unsuccessfully. Pat Holland, who was injured and missed the game in Spain, but of course was in the last West Ham European Cup Winners' Cup campaign back in 1975-6 season, when they got to the final and lost to Anderlecht, and indeed Holland scored in that final. Martin again decisive in the air, but referee Kaiser deciding that he was unfair too. So Castilla giving evidence at the moment that this atmosphere, or lack of it, is to their liking. Paco. Alvarez. Now Bernal, the captain. But here's Brooking. Picking out Holland. Sort of pass that on a normal day would have drawn applause. Free kick given for a little nudge on Goddard by his marker, Chendo. West Ham have 3 players poised to attack the ball on the far post. Alvin Martin is one. Now cross. Devonshire, blocked by Bernal. And the free kick for the late tackle. And Devonshire on the left of the West Ham midfield. Bonds darting to the near post, but it goes to the far post for Alvin Martin. And all the way back for Brooking to plant it in again. The appeals were for handball quite clearly, as you could hear. It was Alvarez who was robbed then in turn by Holland. Brooking to his left. Bonds has stayed forward, and the goalkeeper in trouble, no foul. Miguel under pressure from Billy Bonds. Pump forward again, another test for Miguel, and he was equal to it. Lampard. Here's Ray Stewart. Across the target, Goddard trying to feed off him, and the back pass from Chendo. Lampard, collected by Alvarez. Lampard in front of Balin. And the knot of West Ham contingent really forming the crowd on the far side. Up above those empty terraces, there are club officials in the first rows of the stand, and the press box is full as well. Here's Pat Holland. Getting past Casemiro this time. Cross waiting for it on the near post, and Casemiro able to find the ball ricocheting back towards him. Casemiro on the near post, and as Goddard goes in, the whistle has gone for an infringement. And Miguel leaving the goal kicks to Espinosa. Salguero, and it was handball by Devonshire. Every encouraging word from the likes of Billy Bonds and Frank Lampard easily discernible tonight. As Salguero finds the head of Paco, who was pushing Alvin Martin. Paco, one of two brothers in the Castilla attack. His brother is Balin, the number 7. Both scored in Madrid. That came off Sanchez Lorenzo. And Espinosa in trouble, and in the end, I think, obstructing David Cross. The arm raised for the indirect free kick by referee Kaiser. So what can Brooking plot here? Ray Stewart alongside him, of course, a man with a really powerful shot. And the flag up was for offside. The referee didn't spot it, and Alvin Martin might be allowed to go on here. And in the end, West Ham get a rather fortunate corner, because as the free kick was played initially towards Alvin Martin, the linesman on the near side, the blind side of the referee, had his flag up clearly for offside. So Cross coming off the near post as Brooking bends in the corner, and Lampard wasn't picked up. Here's Cross, beaten to it by Espinosa, and on by Alvarez. And Balin was tripped. A little touch by Devonshire, who was covering back behind Lampard, who brought Balin down. And again, Salguero pumping a long free kick forward. Sanchez Lorenzo prepared to try it, and getting no power at all into his shot. Stewart, and again the sweeper there to pick it off, Salguero. On from Paco for his brother Balin to chase. And Balin might get there in front of Billy Bonds, and Paco is in as well. And again, West Ham looking just a little hesitant at the back. But here's Pike trying to quicken it up further forward. And Sanchez Lorenzo able to cut it out. Sanchez Lorenzo, who just came across when Pike was looking menacing. It's been an evenly balanced first quarter of an hour, in which West Ham perhaps having slightly more of possession, but the better chance, the one and only real chance, has gone to Castilla. Here's Sidon, who played mainly on the left in Madrid, and using his favourite left foot with the pass. Bonds, though, in for West Ham. Here's Brooking, running straight into Sanchez Lorenzo, and now Paco having to hold it up and wait for some support. Balin is in the middle, and a chance for Sanchez Lorenzo. And West Ham were caught watching the ball and not picking up the player coming from midfield. But it's Devonshire coming from midfield himself for West Ham. And getting the strike in at goal, but from the sort of range from Alan Devonshire, not really to trouble Miguel. Still looking for his first goal of the season. On from Bernal, and Paco taking it in the back from Alvin Martin. "21 years old, Paco, who was the top scorer in the surprise cup run that took Castilla to the Spanish Cup final last year, really against all the odds. And they were heavily beaten by Real Madrid in that final, but it was a wonderful achievement to reach it. The shot from Bernal, blocked by Brooking. The first second division team in Spain for 41 years to reach the cup final. Salguero, one for Paco to chase, and Stewart there in front of him. And one of the advantages of the absence of the crowd is you can hear what's being shouted from the bench as well, and the cry from West Ham was to push up on the sweeper, Salguero, who was lured into the challenge then, and it was the number 3 Casimiro who got it away in the end. But certainly Castilla keeping their sweeper really deep and giving West Ham space to play into without the risk of being caught offside. And here's Devonshire, crosses on the far post as he looks, and Brooking in there too. Out from Casimiro, Lampard. Devonshire once more. And cross, beaten by Miguel. Bonds turning it away from Paco. Goddard. Now Pat Holland for West Ham. Looking to take on Casimiro, and he slipped in this time. Goddard in the middle. If Holland needs help, in the end sending it up for Pike. So Jeff Pike, to what amounts as polite applause, gives West Ham a real boost. 19 minutes gone. Well, no great sign of cheering from the dignitaries in the front row of the stand, but dotted around just little pockets, one can only assume, of West Ham club officials who've gone and stood on the terraces and who responded to Jeff Pike's goal. So 1-0 to West Ham on the night, and that makes it 3-2 to Castilla on aggregate. And that skidded off Bonds and fell safely for Phil Parks. Goddard trying to guide it on. Chendo with the overhead kick. And the free kick goes against Trevor Brooking for the challenge on Bernal. Brooking, whose injury is a groin strain. But certainly Jeff Pike will be pleased to have made a contribution in this leg, having been responsible for the third goal in Madrid with an ill-judged back pass. The free kick given for the infringement by Alan Devonshire. It's Sanchez Lorenzo who's facing out the run, trying to get it round the wall, which he does. But Phil Parks well positioned. Given away by Espinosa. Here's cross. Now Holland, the creator of that first goal. And with all the confidence now to run at this Castilla defence. And every time the ball goes out of play, just a little bit more of delay, because no crowd, of course, to return, and the ball boys tonight are in the stands as well as on the terraces. Away from Salguero. Goddard. Looking, stretching, and just getting enough contact with the ball to find Pike, whose pass is cut out by Alvarez. Bernal. Hit long by Espinosa, but not enough angle on the pass, although Parks, in the end, deciding to play safe. Martin and Paco, and it goes out off the West Ham central defender for a throw to Castilla, which Espinosa has come forward to take, and he looks for the long throw. Alvarez, Sanchez Lorenzo, strong on his left side. Salguero, but no chance really for little Sidon. And Bonds urged to play it forward. And it breaks off Chendo for Goddard. Crosses inside him. And Goddard rather getting a fortunate bounce, but he could profit from it until a brave save from Miguel. Paul Goddard, having stumbled through the first challenge, saw the whites of the goalposts and was prepared to keep going until Miguel halted his run. So Sidon with a little dink forward towards Bernal, and it was just a yard too strong for him. And Jeff Pike, the man of the moment, with the back pass. Here's Bonds. The push by Espinosa, who's doing his marking job on David Cross. Clear man-for-man marking from the Spaniards' defence, with the number 4 Salguero as the sweeper. Bonds. Bernal, but too long for Sidon. Although he now puts pressure on Parks, who opts for the goal kick. Holland urged to jump by his teammates, beaten to it though by Casemiro, who gets there first again. But his front players all turned in slight annoyance at a pass that gave them no chance of collecting. Cross getting a touch, and here's Devonshire. Brooking going ahead of him, Goddard now at the near post, and Goddard again, it was blocked by the goalkeeper and away by Alvarez. Trevor Brooking with one of those definitive turns, and West Ham almost in with a chance again after a terrible blunder by Sidon, allowing Ray Stewart to get possession. It was driven across the face of the goal, and even the West Ham players were flat-footed. Here's Lampard. Bond saying, "I'll take charge." Everyone from Castilla behind the ball. Cross. Picked out though by Chendo. On from Paco. Too long for Balin, the younger of the two brothers.
Move along a bit.
So Lampard with the throw. And after a quiet beginning, Trevor Brooking beginning to get a little bit more room for West Ham. And picks it up nicely from Devonshire. But here's Balin. Bernal. Alvarez. On for Sanchez Lorenzo. And Salguero had made his first run forward. Here he is, the number 4. The first time we've seen the sweep across the halfway line, which might represent a change in emphasis since Castilla have conceded a goal. An away goal for them to cancel out the one scored by David Cross in Madrid. Would throw a different complexion on things. This is Sanchez Lorenzo, and not for the first time prepared to back the power in his left foot. 21 years old. And emptiness is everywhere here in Upton Park tonight. Out from Casemiro, only as far as Martin. Here's Lampard. And certainly West Ham matching their need for concentration and application in these difficult circumstances, and there was hesitation there at the back from Castilla, but they'll get a reprieve now as the flag was up for offside. Try for Alvin Martin to get, for Ray Stewart rather, to get tight on Sidon. And here's Casemiro. Balin coming in on the far post. And it's not cleared particularly convincingly by Devonshire. Paco. And it reaches Casemiro. Balin is forward again, but the cross easily claimed by Phil Parks. And here's Bonds taking it quickly from the goalkeeper. Cross. The marking is tight again from Espinoza. On first time from Devonshire, but Sanchez Lorenzo is the one having problems now. Straining to keep with Brooking, and he's given away another free kick. And Mr. Kaiser, just a calming gesture. Cross and Martin, the two players on the far post, but Cross meets it! And West Ham go 2 in front from Trevor Brookings' free kick. David Cross, the scorer, with half an hour gone. So the deficit is wiped out in half an hour. For Cross, his 10th goal of the season. And now, courtesy of the away goal, at this moment in time, West Ham are in front on aggregate, although the aggregate score in terms of goals is 3 each. And here's Pike. Goddard. And Goddard gets in behind again. It's Devonshire on the far post for West Ham, and now Cross with a little over-the-shoulder effort, but he couldn't really get the power into it. So now Castilla have to score to retain their interest in the Cup Winners' Cup. Here's Balin. Finding the power in Bond's tackle, but then able to win it back as Bonds hesitated. Sidon, and Parks had to make the save, and the West Ham players turned to Billy Bonds, who really had the opportunity to get it away. Devonshire, but straight to Salguero. But here's Cross until Salguero showed just a little more determination than David Cross. Devonshire. Espinosa misjudging the bounce, but was being nudged at the same time by Cross. But what a good scoring season David Cross is having. And it's Cross stretching to get there before Espinosa, who beat him to it, and Paco challenging Parks, but it was no contest really. Put out by Casemiro. Brooking urging himself ahead of Sanchez Lorenzo, who just stops it going behind for the corner and gives work for the ball boys again. Here's Brooking again. Holland is right in there for West Ham, and the rather unnecessary corner conceded by Sidon. Perhaps a little cameo of the fact that Castilla at the moment are at full stretch, trailing by 2 goals already, and they face the presence of Bonds forward again at this corner, and Alvin Martin, and Devonshire, and Pike. But Jeff Pike prepared to try a shot, having scored that vital first goal from outside the penalty area. Espinosa with the throw, which Balin couldn't really collect. This is Sanchez Lorenzo, and Brooking having to do the defending for a change, and doing it rather clumsily. Here's Bernal. Sanchez Lorenzo again holding off Brooking, and it's ricocheted off Sidon. Parks using it quickly from his hands, and Goddard now faced by his marker Chendo. Holland, who's got the pace, but not quite the control when it was required. But West Ham getting forward quickly from good distribution from Phil Parks, and Pat Holland was up quickly in support of Paul Goddard. So 10 minutes to go to half-time. Devonshire. And the touch from Cross just a little too strong as he was looking to find Devonshire in front of the little knot of spectators in the dugouts. Free kick then to Castilla. Pushing a lot of players forward again. Paco is one, but again parks the master in the air. Cross and Goddard, the two-pronged attack for West Ham, but Cross pushing unfairly on Espinosa. And still West Ham operate to a barrage of calling and encouraging from on the field. Cries, of course, that go on in every game, but are muffled so often by the crowd. Played into the feet of Cross by Bonds. Lampard. And at least with the emptiness all around, there's no booze for a back pass that on other occasions might not be appreciated. Salguero, who's getting forward more and more. West Ham, of course, with such a proud record in this competition. They won it in 1965, semi-finalists the following year, and losing finalists when they qualified again in 76. And it really is somewhat out of character, one must say, for them to be punished in European competition, a club that over the years have done so much to foster that level of competition. As Devonshire goes in and gets a touch which almost brings a chance for Cross away from Espinosa. Martin having to stretch, and Balin showing real pace when he gets into his stride. Lovely touch though from Holland, on from Stewart. Holland again. A free kick given to West Ham. A little clip at the ankles of Pat Holland. Brooking again in charge at the free kick. Again, Cross making the run across the face of the goal area. Lampard. Playing the 1-2 with Devonshire, but mis-hitting the cross. But it's an effort from Frank Lampard that brings applause from this attendance of around 250. And a stoppage for an injury problem for Chendo, who has got a bang, looks like around the left eye or the left cheekbone. Only 18 years old, Chendo. Just come up from the Real Madrid youth ranks, and it's a cut quite clearly. Almost Alan Minter style, which needs treatment off the field. Chendo himself, in fact, a deputy for Juanito, who wore the number 2 shirt in the first leg and was injured in that game. But Chendo is being waved back on. And Castilla back to their full complement. But it might not be enough to stop Devonshire here. Well, he gets away with a miss kick. Brooking on the far post, Cross as well, and put in by Goddard. So while Castilla were perhaps reorganising, with Castilla coming back on, So it's 3-0 now. Devonshire getting away with the miss kick. And when it was turned back across the goal, it was a simple chance for Goddard. 5 minutes now to go to half-time. Well, the feeling in the West Ham camp after the first leg defeat was that really they should be a side that could be put away without much difficulty, but there's problems here for West Ham that needs Parks to come diving out. And indeed, one or two of the Castilla players hesitated when the referee was waving play on and the ball had rolled loose. Meanwhile, Mr. Kaiser has called a halt for a push on Goddard as West Ham broke forward quickly. Cross with the header and Goddard was offside, and the referee playing the advantage as Chendo brings it out. Back from Bonds. That came off Sanchez Lorenzo, and Pat Holland, who's had such a good first half, settling for the corner. Some 3 minutes left of this first period. West Ham on the hunt for further goals from the short corner. And it's Pike again from just the sort of range from which he opened the scoring. From Stewart. Goddard wanted it to come through to him, but Chendo's just stuck out a leg. And again, the problem of the ball boys having to locate the ball before returning it. But at least they're amongst the privileged few who have seen a good first half performance from West Ham in adversity, without what would have been, I'm sure, a crowd of around 30,000. But the deficit now behind them. They lead 4-3 on aggregate, 3-0 here on the night. But here's Bernal. Certainly Castilla, in their way, have caused one or two problems for West Ham at the back. But here's Devonshire. It's the extra pace that West Ham are showing, and Espinosa with a blatant piece of holding on Alan Devonshire. And escapes a caution. Lampard. And Goddard making contact, and Miguel just half a step from carrying the ball over his own goal line. Just making sure of his judgment. The ball deflecting off Goddard. Brooking with a deft touch that makes a yard of space for cross. The call you could hear quite clearly from Stewart. Here's Holland. He's had a lot of joy attacking the defenders. But Stewart was at full tilt, and Holland hadn't looked for a return pass. And again, the advantage of the absence of crowd. Pat Holland reproaching Ray Stewart for a bad shout. Stewart this time pushing the header towards Goddard. Chendo letting it run. came off Paco, but it brings Castilla a free kick, a pushing by Martin. And although West Ham have this 3-0 lead here on the night, it's worth reminding you that if Castilla get a goal, it's all level again. Here's Brooking. The referee having a look at the watch. We've had 30 seconds of injury time. And Sanchez Lorenzo robs Brooking. But the whistle is for the end of the first half, and it's a case really that silence has been golden for West Ham. It's certainly been goal-filled in terms of 3 goals from Jeff Pike, David Cross and from Paul Goddard, with Trevor Brooking happily pass fit just before the kick-off at the centre of things for West Ham. And a 3-0 lead on the night means a 4-3 aggregate to them at half-time. There is a substitute on. The 14, Blanco, is on. It's 11. Well, so far so good for West Ham United as they start the second half. A reminder that they're in their change strip tonight of all white. 1 or 2 anxious moments for Phil Parkes, but really on a night when security is at the highest level and around the ground, there hasn't been a great deal of security at the back for Castilla, and they've made a substitution in fact at half-time. They've taken off Sidon and brought on Blanco, who's wearing number 14. Here's Stewart for West Ham. And Goddard was unfairly holding as he tried to turn his marker. It looks as though Alvarez has been pushed further forward, the number 8, alongside Paco, and Blanco has come into midfield. A little nick away at the heels of Pat Holland from Casemiro, who really has had his hands full tonight with Pat Holland in lively form. Holland, of course, who not only missed the first leg in Madrid, but was also absent in a very disappointed way from the cup final. Espinosa. Here's Sanchez Lorenzo, always trying to work the ball onto his left foot. Alvarez. West Ham now must keep their concentration at a high level, and one wonders just how much harder that is to do in these sort of circumstances. Players always say when they have to play in the reserves through lack of form or coming back from injury, how difficult it is to keep their concentration up. But West Ham must now be alert. Against Balin, and Bond's there to tidy up. Balin looked hopefully towards the referee as he went down, but the tackle was clearly a clean one. The back header from Pike, on from Holland, and it's a West Ham throw. West Ham with a chance tonight of recording their best ever win in European competition. In 1965 they beat Olympiakos Piraeus, the Greek side, 4-0. And a touch towards cross, but Miguel off his line quickly. Ray Stewart closing down quickly on Paco. And it's Stewart who puts the header out. The Spanish side actually arrived in England yesterday lunchtime under close security. And perhaps that's the worst thing that's befallen them so far. A clumsy challenge from Billy Bonds. Certainly the vigilance of the security officers around the party has been of the highest order. And many of these Castilla players making their first trip away from Spain. The referee having a word with the captain, Bernal. Here's Stewart, away from Salguero, and now Alvarez in his new role in the second half, further forward. Certainly the match being played in the best of spirits between the two sides, and one wonders how different that might have been if there'd been a crowd here, perhaps inflaming the passions a little bit, but it's a clinical performance from West Ham. Nicely claimed by Miguel. Long from Blanco, the substitute. And Alvarez, who certainly has been busy for Castilla, and for his efforts, he gets dumped on his backside by Frank Lampard with the late tackle. And it might come for Paco here. Alvin Martin, full stretch to clear his lines. Now Brooking, who's not fully fit and has been quite happy to cruise, particularly when West Ham managed to find their goal touch. Blanco, the substitute, then with the throw. Here's Balin. Alvarez, slipping Bonds nicely. And Parks, again showing good judgment off his line. Castilla had two players waiting for the cross. Here's Devonshire. Holland breaking ahead of him, and the pass inside Casemiro, but picked off easily by the sweeper Salguero. Well, easily enough with possession, but with a back pass that really could have embarrassed Miguel. Offside against Paco. Now Devonshire. The long legs of Bernal stretching out to make the challenge. And then finding Blanco with a neat pass. Casemiro coming forward. And Paco lets it run, and they're appealing for handball as the ball appeared to strike Bonds. And clearly Paco felt that it was a deliberate act by Billy Bonds. Couldn't have seen a great deal of the driven cross from Casemiro as Paco let it run. The referee was well placed to turn down the claims for the penalty. Space here for Bonds, and that might be costly for Castilla. Just looking to meet Bonds' ball forward. And that deflects behind off Blanco. Blanco, who's fitted in on the right-hand side of the Castilla midfield in this second half. So a corner for West Ham, with Bonds and Martin forward again. And it's Alvin Martin coming to meet it, but the referee not liking the challenge. Alvin Martin so strong in the air, and a player, of course, who really came of age in the cup final against Arsenal. Push again, this time by Lampard. Alvarez, now Blanco. Well, he saw a gap and was prepared to try the shot. And good ambition from the substitute. Blanco coming on for Sidon at half-time. Just saw a vestige of an opening on that far post from our camera position. It curled away from the post behind for the goal kick. Goddard mistiming a quite substantial leap, but here's Brooking. Trying to cut it back, and Holland coming in, and it's just too high for Pat Holland. But a characteristic piece of work from Trevor Brooking. And Pat Holland, who was involved in the third goal, taking up a position on the far post. Lampard, Blanco playing it first time. Bonds and Alvarez again showing Bonds a clean pair of heels. Paco. Back for Balin. And the cross had Parks in two minds, and it needed the saving header from Stewart. The ball hit beyond the far post, and Stewart having to turn it behind for the corner. So although West Ham with 3 goals under their belts, if Castilla get one back, the whole situation is even again. And by Bernal, and a good clearing header from Alan Devonshire. Collected though by Blanco. Changing the direction of the play for Castilla. Paco. Balin. Turned off it though by Martin. And Brooking darting through the middle, and he's not marked at the moment. But Alvin Martin opting to keep possession for West Ham, rather than play what was a much more difficult pass. Here's Pike taking over. A tackle from Salguero. And a touch from Alvarez, who's been the most impressive of the Castilla players tonight. And Alvarez going forward again, and Alvin Martin having to resort to a little bit of roughhouse tactics. to stop Alvarez. Bernal, and they were caught watching as Bernal came forward with a really marvellous goal for Castilla. Well, John Lyle was talking of his shooting ability yesterday, so they knew all about him, but they were caught flat on their heels. And Castilla now level the tie. It's 3-1 here on the night, and that makes it 4 goals each on aggregate, with both sides having an away goal. And if it stays this way, it would go into extra time. The goal coming 11 minutes into the second half. So, a completely different complexion on things, and West Ham guilty of cruising a little, and they've been punished for it. Here's Brooking. Now Stewart. And Goddard finding Chendo there with a strong challenge that left Goddard down, and Paul Goddard was, like Trevor Brooking, a little doubtful for this tie. Balin in front of Lampard, and Parks needing to come out quickly. Well, reward for Castilla, who never came here to defend their lead. They were always prepared to push men forward in the first half, even when the goals were going against them. But they must now defend in numbers. This free kick to West Ham. Blanco being told quite clearly to get back the full distance. Brooking and Devonshire over the ball. Bonds has already made a run forward, and that's Martin who couldn't make it. Sent back again by Stewart, and Bonds is onside. Martin got a touch. Here's Devonshire. Cross is checked out towards the far post, but the pass never looked like reaching him. And a prospect here of a break by Balin. And Alvarez is onside. The pass just an inch too long for him, but this is Paco with a second chance, and a tame effort that was blocked by Stewart, and then the ball rolling safely to Parks, and anxiety rippling through West Ham at the moment. And suddenly Castilla beginning to believe. Blanco. Free kick given to West Ham. Mr. Kaiser right on top of the incident. Here's Goddard. And Balin foul from behind by Lampard. Free kick taken quickly by Blanco, but he couldn't curl it round Lampard. But Blanco again. And here's the man who's given a new dimension to this game, Bernal. And it breaks for Alvarez. And here's Casemiro, and West Ham are stretched again for the moment. But a wasted cross from Casemiro. But he got forward to make an extra man on Castilla's left going forward, as he needs to do with Sidon off the field in the second half. So half an hour remaining, and it could not be more evenly balanced. But here's Cross, and Goddard's got space if Cross can pick him out. But Miguel, the centre, always easier for the goalkeeper. Bonds. Here's Lampard. And the throw in, catching West Ham lacking in concentration again. Paco trying to divert it over Bonds, who got a head in, and an important interception it was for West Ham. And here's Holland. But Chendo there first. And with this crowd of around 250, it's still possible to detect an anxiety that's crept into those who are watching now. It was all so much a romp for a while for West Ham. But we're now seeing some of the strength of skill and of character that brought Castilla into the Spanish Cup final last season. But here's Devonshire, and he was pressurised all the time, but an awkward challenge that's left both Devonshire and Chendo in some pain. And certainly now West Ham are going to need a fully fit Alan Devonshire for the 28 minutes that remain of normal time. Certainly West Ham haven't been anything like as menacing going forward in this second half. And you do feel at the moment that a few choruses of "I'm Forever Blowing Bubbles" wouldn't go amiss as far as the players were concerned. So West Ham have the free kick. Taken by Brooking, but again, good defending by Castilla. It was Paco right back there to clear his lines. Espinosa. And Alvin Martin with the header away. Here's Blanco. Pass easily cut out by Stewart, and Chendo caught the wrong side of Goddard, and perhaps West Ham can break forward quickly here. Castilla equally quickly getting men back behind the ball, but here's Cross, and West Ham just a little indecisive when they needed to be positive. Here's Brooking for Pat Holland. Stewart has got forward into the box as well, and the acrobatic clearance was from Salguero. Salguero, who's been an important defender in his free role at the back. Now can Martin flick this on, and Cross is right in there, and the goalkeeper under pressure too from Goddard. An unfair pressure it was, as Castilla just creaked a little under the pressure from the long throw. And again, time needed for reclaiming a ball that would have been back in seconds on a normal Saturday afternoon here at Upton Park. But there's nothing really normal about this occasion. Back from Martin. And here's Bonds. Well, they're going to need all his urging and encouraging now, Bill Bonds. But it's Espinosa pushing forward for Castilla. Alvarez. Now Balin. Only Paco in the box. And as Balin looked to see what else was on, he enabled Lampard to make the challenge. Here's Sanchez Lorenzo. And now Blanco. And the feet were high by Blanco. Sanchez Lorenzo was leading the protests, but Mr. Kaiser, who's been assured in everything he's done, was on the spot again to give the free kick to West Ham. Now here's Brooking, and Castilla have given him a yard which might be costly. Holland making a run in field. And here's Devonshire with time to pull it down and set himself for the shot, which was blocked by Salguero. So West Ham, who really must have felt that they'd done the job at half-time, finding out, as so many teams do in European competition, that there are really very few soft touches about these days. And here's Bernal, who emphasised that point with a really spectacular away goal for Castilla. Devonshire. But they left Brooking, but the pass was too long. Here's Salguero. Alvarez. And the whistle goes again in Castilla's favour. Just the merest of nudges by Billy Bonds on the number 8, Alvarez. It's enough to put West Ham back under pressure. And they just cannot put themselves really in a position of conceding a second goal and have any chance of going through, because that would give the advantage in away goals to Castilla. But here's Brooking. Goddard to his left, and offside. The header from Stewart. And if Castilla did score again, West Ham would have to score twice more. And in all honesty, in the second half, they haven't really looked like adding to the 3 that they got before half-time. Some bumping and boring there between Sanchez Lorenzo and Brooking. And Castilla, who were caught out of the free kick for the second goal, face Brooking over the ball again. Dinked in towards the near post, where it's met by Espinosa. And here's Balin, who's got real speed when he stretches his legs, and he's making Jeff Pike hurry all the way back with him, but Pike doing the defensive side of his job well. And Jeff Pike being asked to carry it forward again for West Ham. Nice touch from Cross, taken up by Holland. This time West Ham a little slow in getting men forward into the penalty area. But Devonshire is there, beaten by Blanco. Here's Paco. And Balin, you could hear the yell of pain. And the shin guard doing its job. Lampard, who came in late, and Balin just making a point to the referee. So Blanco plays the free kick short to Balin, who's made a quick recovery and somehow manages to divert it to Chendo. Paco coming in on the far post, and the header deflected off Alvin Martin. And again, West Ham stretched at the back. And Castilla, of course, under no pressure from the genuine hostility from the West Ham crowd. And the long shot again from Salguero. And Castilla able to go about their work in a relaxed manner. Cross stooping to try and lay it off, but it was just too long for Pike. And here's Paco, who was held by Stewart. Another sign that West Ham are really now having to work. I think in all honesty, much harder than they expected to do so, and certainly much harder than they could have expected the way things were going at half-time. Here's Balin. Was Lampard obstructing? No, said the referee, but Balin was holding. And the little flick from Alvarez counts for naught, because Balin, who might count himself a little bit unlucky not to have had a free kick in his favour for a little piece of obstruction by Frank Lampard, but then clearly Balin was holding Lampard's shirt. That came off Chendo, and Miguel serving his side well to stop the ball going behind for the corner. Devonshire. A touch from Alvarez. Back from Lampard. On from Devonshire, and the touch from Espinosa was enough to stop Cross getting into a dangerous position. And David Cross hasn't found the chances coming his way in the second half. And the level of competition on the field really at its sharpest point now. But one must say again that Mr. Kaiser has been the most vigilant of referees. And of course, I'm sure he finds it a little bit easier without the crowd hooting and whistling at his decisions. And certainly the absence of a crowd less likely to inflame players to react when they hear a crowd respond. That's Brookings' touch. And here's Devonshire. This looks a little more promising for West Ham, and that's David Cross, who couldn't make the sort of contact that he wanted and that West Ham at this moment are desperately looking for, to try to restore their grip on the game, both in terms of aggregate goals and in terms of the psychological feeling. So quarter of an hour left of normal time, and if there are no more goals, extra time beckons. Push by Sanchez Lorenzo, who has stayed so close to Trevor Brooking and has had to resort to some pushing and holding at times to keep Brooking at bay. And this is Alvin Martin going in for West Ham. A looping header from Goddard, and no one really going in with any great hunger to try and finish it off, as Goddard knocked it back across the face of the goal. Brooking lets it run, touched on by Goddard. Cross wants it played in early. Holland's arriving as well, and that's David Cross, and it's the woodwork that thwarts West Ham, and Cross in particular. David Cross had made his presence felt in the penalty area, arm raised, calling for the early ball to be played in, and it was a really thumping header that came out off the bar. Here's Devonshire, crosses in, hunting for the droppings again, but this time Devonshire can't get it in as quickly. Holland makes contact when the ball does arrive, and the anxiety from Miguel suggesting that it was a Castilla player They made the last contact, and West Ham have a corner. Holland to take it. This is Bonds. And now Brooking. And can Cross make contact? Well, he was beaten to it by Bernal. Cross turns it back once more. Now Goddard. And it nearly crept in for what would have been the softest of goals. Paul Goddard hardly made any sort of contact. Back from Lampard, and he had to be sure with Balin up quickly behind him. The header from Espinosa was a really solid one. Certainly Castilla lacking in confidence. There was the feeling in Spain that although Castilla had achieved so much in reaching the cup final when they were beaten by Real Madrid, that they perhaps shouldn't be allowed as a nursery second division club to go into the Cup Winners' Cup with Real Madrid taking their place in the Champions' Cup. Certainly Castilla have given a good account of themselves. But here's Cross trying to punish them now, and he's got Ray Stewart in support. And it was Paco whose arm, I think, struck unwittingly. But now Brooking, the angle's tight. Can Cross knock it back? Well, he went the direct route, and it was straight at Miguel. The angle was tight for David Cross. And Paco wasn't giving him the sort of support that he was calling for. Here's David Cross, and that was a really solid challenge from Espinosa that was penalised immediately by Mr. Kaiser. So Ray Stewart with the free kick. And the goalkeeper was caught in two minds, but it came to naught because Cross was pushing. Here's Stewart. Put out by Casemiro. Well, certainly those who are privileged to see this game behind closed doors are witnessing a real contest. And the goalkeeper having to be decisive. Now Bonds trying to drive it back towards an empty net as Miguel tried to recover his composure and his position. But Billy Bonds, fastening onto the loose ball some 25 yards out, couldn't direct it onto the target. Martin, really decisive in the air. And again. Sanchez Lorenzo. Nicely played wide by Bernal. Or Blanco. Here's Sanchez Lorenzo. Bernal again. Salguero coming forward. But either overdoing it and perhaps giving West Ham a chance to work quickly on the counter-attack, but the impetus is lost. And Paco almost given a chance to get the ball back. We move now into the last 10 minutes of normal time. Balin, Casemiro and Ray Stewart, and Casemiro wins the race for Alvarez. Here's Casemiro again. Balin, there's no one wide to the right as Balin looks, but it'll come for Blanco. And Bonds with a miscue. Now Sanchez Lorenzo. And time at last for West Ham and Frank Lampard. certainly you see in the Castilla style that they don't push up to try and play offside, as so often is the case in English football. But West Ham really haven't made any great use in the second half of the extra space that affords. Here's Brooking. Bonds has made a run from deep, and that's David Cross with a heading chance, but he couldn't direct onto the target. Coming with 9 minutes left of normal time. Bali. Well, again, one wonders what the crowd would make of a back pass with their team not yet secure. But a thoroughly absorbing contest that takes your mind off the strange circumstances in which the game is being played. Here's Martin. Well, they're allowing him to shoot, and it was so close from Alvin Martin. They backed off him, the Castilla players. And in the end, after assessing one or two other options, Alvin Martin plumped for the shot and hit it well. Good header from Devonshire, who thought it was deflected. But the throw goes to Castilla, and the foul throw at that by Salguero. You could see the referee's gesture, throwing it straight down into the ground, not releasing the ball cleanly. Here's Brooking. Closed down quickly by two players. Devonshire won't come for Goddard, might come for Pike. Here's Stewart, who has power in both feet, but prefers to shoot with the right. In the end, Castilla forced him onto his left side. Here's Paco. On for Alvarez. Paco had continued his run, but Martin's there before him. Cross coming to meet it, but couldn't make contact, but perhaps Goddard can. Here's Cross. Now Stewart. As Cross goes towards the far post, Espinosa goes with him, his marker, and Holland tries to get a better angle on the cross. West Ham have to settle for the throw. Now Brooking. Sanchez Lorenzo losing his balance, and Brooking, as Bonds went in, a fine catch by Miguel. For once, the Castilla defenders were caught wrong-footed. Bonds would have been left with a clear header had the goalkeeper been less decisive. Here's Balin, who was being pushed and shoved by Lampard. With 5 minutes of normal time remaining, and a goal now would be a real body blow for West Ham. Here's Blanco. Balin gets a touch. Paco looking for it as well, but unfairly. Most of the shouting that you hear now is coming from the West Ham bench rather than from the players. Lampard, you could just detect, trying to lift the side again, but West Ham's mood is subdued at the moment. Here's Devonshire. Blanco, who sat in on that right-hand side for Castilla in the second half. Pike and Brooking taking it from him well. Lampard, but it was a desperation ball and something of a desperation clearance by Chendo. Salguero reacting badly under pressure as well. Here's Brooking. West Ham now searching for something dramatic to stop the game going into extra time, and they have a chance here from the free kick. Bonds is forward, Alvin Martin is there as well. Goddard is poised to make a dart towards the near post. It's Alvin Martin who goes in, and it's a corner. His header deflecting behind with 3 minutes remaining of normal time. Cross trying to get there at the near post, the goalkeeper doing enough. And stabbed back by Lampard, and it was really all that he could do under pressure from Balin. So West Ham must build again from the back. And it's a fairly unsophisticated ball forward. And it ends in a free kick to Castilla. Long by Espinosa. Nicely laid off by Balin, but Blanco couldn't control it. Here's Pike, and West Ham really haven't brought Holland into the game as much as they did in the first half, where he was a real thorn in the Spaniards' side. Casemiro, who's done a much tighter job in the second half, and a free kick given against Stewart. So Bernal, whose goal it is that seems to have brought us to extra time. Clarks, who didn't have a sniff of a chance of saving the 35-yarder that rifled into the top corner. Paco. Here's Alvarez. Castilla have 4 men forward. Paco is one. Balin. And here comes Salguero trying to make the extra man, and he covered some 50 yards to get there and was looking to be on the blind side of the West Ham defenders, and it nearly came off for Castilla. Devonshire showing his strength in possession. We're inside the final minute now of normal time. Brooking, but Holland will have to turn to collect. And although there was contact with Casemiro, it was by no means intentional on the defender's part. Alvarez. Now Balin and Sanchez Lorenzo darting ahead of him. Paco is forward again and was looking to let it run and was holding Martin. So the referee, Mr. Kaiser, consulting the watch, which should tell him that he's moving into time added on for injuries and stoppages at the end of 90 minutes. And a short, sharp blast, and it's extra time. West Ham United, with those 3 goals in the first half, really pegged back by the shot from Bernal, and so it's 4 goals each on aggregate. Both teams have an away goal, and we have 30 minutes of extra time. John Lyle off the bench to talk to his players, and he must be bitterly disappointed that it's gotten this far. It really has been a tie in which there's been a saga of missed opportunities by West Ham. In Spain, they were clearly the better side. They scored first and then had what they call a silly quarter of an hour in which they allowed Castilla to score 3 times. And they appeared to have put that behind them with the 3 first half goals here, and then a lapse of concentration, and they were punished.
Would you photographer please not come on the pitch, please? Thank you very much. Please don't come on the pitch, please.
Roy, a request from Alan. Could we ask Euston for the Forest score?
Been another season in Europe, with a difference. Hammers were forced to play behind closed doors, but still scored 5 against Castilla of Spain. It was because of crowd troubles from West Ham fans in Madrid during the first leg.
In the end, setting it up for Pike! Cross and Martin, the 2 players on the far post, but Cross meets it! And West Ham go 2 in front from Trevor Brookings' free kick. David Cross, the scorer. Chendo is being waved back on. And Castilla back to their full complement. But it might not be enough to stop Devonshire here. Well, he gets away with a miss kick. Brooking on the far post, Cross as well, and put in by Goddard. Bernal, and they were caught watching as Bernal came forward with a really marvellous goal for Castilla. Now Brooking, and now Stewart. Morgan again. There's been very few occasions where West Ham have got their first time passing going, but it's brought them a goal that could be the winner. David Cross. And Devonshire being allowed to run. And Cross gets the hat-trick.
But Hammers were eventually halted by the Soviet side Dynamo Tbilisi.